myself.
Santiago. Yes. Remember Chile?
Yes.
Capital city.
Yes. I'm sorry, I don't rush it.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Ortega Lomayer, your host and producer of Elecciones 2018. Tonight we will talk with Jill Ortman-Forte, candidate for County Council at Large in Montgomery County, and our guest Santiago Tavara, editor at Digital Metro Latino USA and writer at El Tiempo Latino newspaper. Jill, why Latinos should vote for you?
Well, I think it's the same reason that everybody should vote for me, because I feel that our county is rich with tremendous resources, and we are on the cusp of greatness. All we need to do is connect our resources together, and I think that we just, our capacity for greatness is huge. We have a county filled with so many incredible people from around the world who are really want to make a difference and really want the best outcomes for all of the residents in Montgomery County. And if we work better together and have better communication and better partnerships, we can make better use of our resources and have a better quality of life for all of our families here in Montgomery County.
Do you have some specific proposal for Latinos and minorities in the
Yes, well, first of all, my name is Jill Ortman-Forte. I just want to correct my name. I've known Elizabeth for a long time, but I do have a crazy name, so it's a hard name to remember. And I've lived here for about 25 years with my husband, and we actually met when I was a volunteer with Habitat for Humanity International as full-time volunteers. And Habitat, as you might know, is an organization that works in partnership with low-income families to build homes. So I built homes in Guatemala and Costa Rica and Mexico and in the United States in partnership with families so that they could have a better quality of life. And I know how important stable, safe, affordable housing is to all families, and I've seen the research. I know the difference it makes in outcomes. I know the difference it makes in academics and employment. And we don't have enough housing here. We're short about 50,000 units of housing for the families that live in this county, and we need more affordable housing. We have schools in Montgomery County that have as much as 25% mobility rates, which means in an elementary school with a 25% mobility rate, which would mean 1 out of every 4 kids is moving in and out of the school during the school year. And that's a problem because we want to have stability for our kids. We want them to be able to build relationships with the school staff. But families have got to be able to afford where they live. They've got to be able to get to jobs. So it's not just the housing, but it's the transportation, and then it's the job opportunities. So for Latino families, we have a third of our families right now. It's our largest cohort in Montgomery County Public Schools is Hispanic. Mm-hmm. And actually a third of our residents are immigrants in Montgomery County, as you probably know. So in our schools we have students that come from 150 countries and speak 157 languages, which is just absolutely amazing. But for families, my big things is we need to have affordable housing for our families to have that stability. Then we need to have the public transit infrastructure that we don't have now, so families can get to their jobs. And the jobs are not necessarily located where the affordable housing is, and that's why being near transit is so important. And having transit that's accessible, affordable, and and dependable and efficient is really important. Then families could better get to their jobs that we're going to be creating.
And who is financing your campaign?
Well, I am publicly financed, so it's the
Okay.
people of Montgomery County. People always ask if you're taking any developer money or taking large contributions, and I'm not. As you probably are aware with public financing, the maximum donation is $150 per individual for Montgomery County residents. And that, to me, I feel like that is the best way to run a campaign, because I want people across Montgomery County to be invested in this vision, not just a few people.
Go ahead.
I think you have a question.
Oh, no. I could.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, like I said, I'm currently on the Montgomery County Board of Education, and I'm the at-large member, so I represent kids and families from all over the county. And as you know, we've got about 1 million residents and 500 square miles, and I travel everywhere. So I'm all the way to the north, south, east, and west. And I've heard about the challenges that our families face and that our students face. And I've seen some places where they get it right and some places that they don't. And I think that we can do a lot better for our schools and for our counties if we just connect the dots and we use best practices wherever we can, more efficiently and more effectively.
And I understand that you have reviewed the MCPS budget every year.
Yes.
And you are aware of that Leggett just presented the budget
Yes.
for the coming
Mhm.
fiscal year. What do you think about how the economy is in the county? Is it in good shape for the next 4 years?
Well, we're actually coming up short in the county, as you probably know, that we have a deficit now, and it's predicted to have the deficit.
120 million. Right?
That's right, for the next 4 years. So we really need to address the deficit, and the way that we have to address the deficit is that we have to have more revenue. We can't raise taxes again. We just raised property taxes 8.7%, which really hit people hard last time, but we had not raised taxes since 2009 on property, and so we did it all at one time. And it was supposed to fund the schools. A little over half is actually funding the schools. We really had the need in the schools because we're actually getting less per student, as of last year, than we were in 2009. And the needs have grown tremendously since 2009.
So what are we going to do?
So we're going to create more economic opportunity, and that's what we have to do, is have higher paying jobs. We have the bulk of our jobs that have come in, new jobs, are service jobs, which are not high wage jobs. And I know that we have 90% of our businesses in Montgomery County are small businesses, but we're not making it easy for small businesses. Our small businesses can do better and earn more and employ more people if they're better supported. And also we have a whole lot of vacant leasable space where we could have businesses renting and paying and get property taxes from those properties, which would be another source of income.
So you oppose that proposal to cut for 2% cuts across the board by the county executive?
The cuts were really hard because it's not just about the school system. It's HHS, it's the Department of Recreation. Health and Human Services does an amazing job supporting our families. So the schools don't act in isolation of the community. We have linkages to learning programs. We have wellness centers. So linkages to learning programs are in our elementary schools, and wellness centers in our high schools. And these centers are really important for engaging and supporting families. If anybody's familiar with the community school concept, but that your school is the center of community, so that families can come in and have their health needs met. They can get assistance with any kind of social services needs that they have, assistance with, if it's that they're trying to connect with people around jobs, whatever kind of direction it is they need. And they provide those kind of resources that a lot of our families, especially those that live in poverty, need. And whenever we best support a family through jobs, through housing, through better transportation, we support their kids in our schools. Our kids are key to our future. They are our future taxpayers. So we absolutely need to make sure that we are doing the best we can for every child in this county, that we're challenging them, that we're giving them the best instruction, that we're making sure that their family has what they need to be successful, because we want those children's dreams to come true. When those children's dreams come true, that comes back to Montgomery County.
So if you're elected, you're gonna oppose these cuts, 2% cuts? Or
Well,
not?
I'm hoping that we have the revenue so we don't have to make cuts. I think that's going to be really important.
You don't promise anything? No?
Well, I'm not going to promise before I get in there, but I will tell you my goal is to, like I say, we have these incredible opportunities like WorkSource Montgomery and the Economic Development Corporation and partnerships with businesses.
I read that Amazon is
And there's the
planning to-
potential for Amazon coming in, which could be huge. I know people have a lot of fears about Amazon because they say, oh, that's going to be more traffic and we're already short housing now. But potentially, we're one of 20, who knows if we're going to get it. But if we did, we have the potential of getting $3 billion in transportation funding for the area, which could really help with our public transportation infrastructure. We have projects that have been put off for years for
Purple Line,
roads
right?
and for public transportation. The Purple Line is coming.
You will
We're
support
gonna-
that?
yes,
Support.
and bus rapid transit. We're going to have it on 29. I'm supporting the expansion to New Hampshire Avenue and also Randolph Road, because that's another way that we can get people more efficiently to their jobs and to their whatever the business is that we're trying to support.
So if I'm thinking about Amazon, is that dreaming or is that closer to a reality?
Well, those negotiations are top secret right now. So I don't know how close we are, but I do think people are concerned. 50,000 people, where are we going to put them? But they wouldn't all come at once. They would come at a time, and these are high wage jobs. These are an average salary of $100,000. This is not a distribution center. It's managers, it's analysts. And what I'm so excited about is with our superintendent, he is laser focused not only on all of our kids achieving the best they can in our schools and being challenged, but matching them up with the job needs of the future. And so we are creating career pathways starting in middle school. We're talking to kids in middle school about what careers they might be interested in, and then we're creating those pathways in high school now. So right now we have 11 career clusters with over 30 career paths. It's the best kept secret. People are always saying to me, we need more trades, we need more VOTEC. We don't call it VOTEC anymore, we call it career paths. Certification, technical education, certified technical education, CTE. If we, and the superintendent believes, graduate more kids with certifications, then they can begin stacking their credentials in high school for great opportunities. The real high-income jobs are not in the services, we need service jobs, but they're in IT. We don't have enough. We bring in people from out of county and out of state for IT jobs. IT jobs being software design, cybersecurity, those kinds of jobs require training that we can start doing in high school. You can come out of high school with a certification and walk right into one of those jobs that you're going to bring a good income for your family. And if you want to go to college, great. You don't have to do it right away. College is not affordable for too many of our families. But if you start earning that money when you get out of high school, then if you choose to go to college, we want to make sure we've given you the best education you can to get into that college, and we want to make sure that you have a living wage so that you can be able to afford that college.
So how would you improve the life of the residents of Montgomery County?
All of these things are quality of life issues: transportation, job opportunity, and affordable housing. I think planning is absolutely key. What do our communities need? How would they like to see their community developed? What don't they want to see? And that's what we need to have better conversations with in our community around our master plans, is how do we design master plans and sector plans that best meet the needs of communities? And do we look equitably across the county at the planning to say, what are the shopping needs here? where do we have the resources? Where do we have the shopping? Where do we have the people that want the shopping? In the East County, they want more restaurants. They don't have enough restaurants. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who would like to open restaurants, but we have a lot of regulations on small businesses. We have a lot of regulations on restaurants. It's very hard.
And the transportation is a
And the
problem in
transportation
this
is a
county.
problem, exactly, as well. So how do we need to be focused on how do we get them the restaurants they want. They've done a plan for that area, but we need to make sure that it happens. And in all of this planning, we need to be working hand in hand with the communities. And if they're not coming to the meetings, we need to go out to them, whether it's going door to door and telling them about what's going on and dropping flyers and meeting people, going to their neighborhood association meetings, going to their rec centers and being available to people, looking for where the people are. If it's giving them the information in front of the neighborhood grocery store, then we should be giving them the information in front of the neighborhood grocery store.
How did people react when you announced your candidacy?
They were very surprised. Because, as you know,
as I've been telling you forever, I told you forever to run, and then you didn't want to, and then you announced it at the last second.
Well, I really appreciate that you had told me to run, Elizabeth. I should have listened to you when you were telling me. But there were a lot of people that told me to run, but I felt like there was still really important work to do in the school system. And then I met with a person who was running for my seat. And he was wonderful. I thought he has the inspiration and the passion that I do. He's already a leader in our school system, so he understands all the challenges and the dynamics. And I thought, wait a minute, it doesn't have to be me that does this. Somebody else can do the job. And so I stepped aside, and he's running for my seat. And then there's other people who are actually really good as well, who've stepped up to the plate. Sometimes it's a matter of just stepping aside. Incumbents get, just like the public financing, by making smaller contributions, because the big contributions are an advantage. Incumbency is a huge advantage for people. So being on the Board of Education and being an incumbent, it makes it easier for you to get the job again. When you step aside from that seat, just like the county council members did, now all these people are running for county council seats, and sometimes it's a good thing to step aside and let somebody else get in there.
So are people supporting you? Are they contacting you?
A lot of people have said, I wish you had, like you said, I wish you had jumped in sooner. But they are supporting me now, which I appreciate. And I do think that bringing the knowledge from working with the school system, which is half the budget of the county, our 162,000 students, which is the 14th largest school system in the country out of 14,000 school systems. We could be a model for the entire country if we put this together right, and I absolutely believe we can. We have brilliant people like you all. We have brilliant kids. We've got all of these incredible federal institutions, the schools. We've got the 3 airports. I mean, we are a metropolitan epicenter where we could just do so much more than what we're doing now, I believe.
So, but that's the public schools. But if you are in the county council, can you do that from the county council?
Well, it's the other half of the budget. So the schools are half the budget. This is the other half of the budget. But as I said at the beginning, one of the things that I saw with our schools is they are impacted by so much that happens to them outside of the classroom. One thing that we talk about a lot now, or that I've talked about a lot, is mental health and trauma-informed practices. Because so many of our kids, as I said, we have 55,000 students living in poverty right now. That's more students than all the kids in the DC public school system. Poverty has an impact. Not knowing if you're going to have a roof over your head, not having food insecurity, not knowing where your next meal is coming from. All that has an impact on what you're able to do in school. I want to make sure that our kids have the best conditions possible. So when they walk into that school, they're ready to learn. And as you know, Elizabeth, we served on the Children Fleeing Violence from Central America work group for the last few years together. And I've appreciated all the work that you did for the Recreation Department. We're very sorry to lose you from the Recreation Department. But we have thousands of kids that have come here fleeing violence from Central America. And that has been extremely traumatic for them. And their parents want them to have a better life. They want them to have opportunities. And these children are gifts to our community. I've talked to so many of them who are so driven and so resilient, and they want to do better. They want to do better for their families. And I just feel like we could do so much more for them to be able to reach their dreams.
Do you have a question?
On gun control,
Mm-hmm.
what are your plans to avoid, these shootings in schools?
Absolutely. So I actually, on my Facebook feed, a picture came up from 6 years ago when I was working with an organization called Moms for Sensible Gun Control. And it was at the White House. So it was a meeting at the White House about this 6 years ago, and nothing has changed, and it is extremely frustrating. I supported our students who marched in Washington. I went down to the march. My son came with me on both of the marches. Well, he didn't come with me, he did it on his own. All these kids were doing this on their own because they're tired of waiting for the adults. And when we did the march this week, in Congress they passed some additional legislation on keeping our schools safer, which was really important. I don't think they would have done that without the students. And then in Annapolis, just last night, 2 bills were passed, and one was for bump stock, I believe it's called, and banning bump stock, and it was converts weapons to assault weapons. And then the other was something that's red flag legislation for victims of domestic abuse. And these were 2 bills that happened last night, I think triggered by what these students are doing, which I am fully supportive of.
And it's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning.
Yes.
They're brilliant, these kids.
On that note, Jill, thank you very much for coming today, and you too,
Thank you.
Santiago. Thank you to both of you and all of our friends in Facebook for joining us tonight. We'll see you again in 1 hour. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
I
Santiago.
have more questions. 50 questions.